Christina Fremont from the Mason Transit Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
School's starting.
It is. I had forgotten and was zooming down Wallace Nealand on my way to work this morning before coming here and realized I was going through a school zone.
Yeah.
I needed to slow it on down.
It's 20 miles an hour during the school zones, and I think especially this week, law enforcement officials will be out making sure you remember that.
Yes, they will. And I want to let folks know that also to remember, the Mason County Sheriffs had put out a little blurb on their social media, make sure to watch for kids and be safe. And I want to remind drivers to do the same around city buses.
Okay.
Because when school gets back in session, we have more youth on city buses doing their after-school activity programs and things like that. And when youth are transitioning from yellow school buses to city buses, there are some differences. And a huge one that's a safety one is a school bus has this wonderful little arm that comes out at the front of the bus to stop traffic so that kids can cross the street in front of the bus. It's one of their safety features. City buses don't have that.
Right.
And so while we do what we can and drivers make sure to remind people, don't cross in front of the bus. We've got it printed in our little rule book as far as ways to be safe. I think, it's not always at the forefront of somebody's mind. So I want to caution drivers to be extra careful when they're passing a city bus because there may be a kid just a little bit further down the road trying to cross the street and it's a blind spot. You're not going to see it until you get too close, probably.
Yeah, that's right.
So just one of those safety reminders, and I know I talked last week, another thing is that how we're similar to school buses is that we stop at railroad tracks. So to be cautious and aware if you are behind a city bus that we are going to stop at a railroad track, open the door, listen for trains, and just like a school bus, it's for the safety of our passengers.
Okay.
So, yeah, just little safety reminders.
Are there a lot of kids that ride the city bus?
There are. When I did a survey, this was 2 years ago, and asked, for demographic information on the rider survey, I want to say almost 25% of our riders at the time that took the survey were 18 and under.
Oh, wow.
It was a huge, I was really surprised. It was a huge portion. So, yeah, we do. And I think more so now, just because where our transit center is located, we're close to Choice High School, we're close to Safeway, obviously, and a lot of kids like to go over there. We have after-school programs happening at the Transit Community Center as far as open gym time. And so, yeah, we do get an increase in ridership once school gets back in. We also have college kids that are riding the buses and getting to school and back. So
I remember when I grew up, kind of between middle school and before I got my driver's license, was afforded to me a little bit more freedom to take the city bus if I wanted to. The schedule was a little better as, sometimes these school bus rides are hours. You have to go way out and then way back, whereas a city bus could get you right there on a set schedule.
Yes.
So that was a very helpful, kind of learning lessons for me and getting out there and exploring on my own, knowing, well, I got to be at school at 7:40. I mean, you can't miss school, so.
It's actually one of the reasons that in our schedule book, you'll see that children who are 8 and under have to be accompanied with a responsible adult, but 8 and over don't have to be. And sometimes I get questions like, who's going to let their 8-year-old ride the bus by themselves? And you just brought up a really good point. Kids going to school, there's the reason that there's no law out there that says, somebody under 18 or that kind of thing. It's because you have, especially in larger urban areas, a lot of kids that will, parent will take them to the bus stop, put them on the city bus, and the city bus will drop them off at school much faster than a school bus will. So, the buses are safe. You're going to get on the bus, you're going to be with other people, including a driver. All of our buses have video cameras, all of our drivers have training, and so
the riders will speak up often too if something shenanigans are happening.
Oh yeah, it's a community all of its own. We've had a couple past board members and other riders who have said that as far as transit builds community, and not just in the sense of making connections between people, jobs, community, that kind of thing, but the people who ride, especially those who ride regularly. Link Transit, actually, they're out of Wenatchee area, did this really great commercial that I think captures this idea of building community. You can find it on YouTube, and I think it's called, is it My Name is Joe, or Joe Has an Interview, and it's this really cute little catchy tune, kind of musical, and this guy gets on the bus and he's saying, "Hey Joe, hey Bob," and he's on his way to a job interview, and the bus is where he came up with this big great idea, Joe's big idea, that's what it is. So it's just a visual way to kind of conceptualize what I'm talking about with the building community. We have folks who will get on and wonder where something is or where resources are, and somebody else can say, "Oh yeah, you can find that here." And so when you're traveling together on a small box with 20 to 30 people for an hour,
you become friends
you're gonna
quickly.
kind of get to know your neighbors. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I love public transit. I've talked about that before. I also, like you, I grew up on public transit. I grew up where that was my main mode of transportation, and my parents entrusted me at a very young age to ride by myself, after riding with them. But I learned to talk to people from all walks of life and get to know people, and so it's part of my personality today. I think that's why I work in outreach. So, yeah. Other than that, I just want to let anybody know who's a rider. As you know, you guys have reported, I shared your story. Brockdale is closed from Island Lake Drive to Johns Prairie, and that's a path that our Route 7 takes, so it's on a detour. And then anybody that uses Dial-A-Ride, I think there's like one neighborhood block in there, we can't access it. So just so folks know. And that's really about all, other than regular fall stuff. We've talked about budget season.
Oh, yeah.
That's going on. I'll talk more as we get closer. Park and Ride project is just moving along. That's about it.
Very nice. Christina Fremont, Mason Transit Authority, masontransit.org, on Twitter at Mason Transit for rider alerts and more. You can find it all there. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks, Jeff.